Hello, welcome to another immigration art video. My name is Art Serratelli, and together with Mara Mijal, the two of us, we run the immigration law firm of Serratelli Mijal, PLLC. If you've got any questions whatsoever, send out an email. Email is your best bet. We start all conversations with email, and you'll see my contact information and Mara's contact information next. Today's video is about the new Trump public charge analysis that they are superimposing upon all green card cases. So this rule really impacts people seeking permanent residence. If you're looking for permanent residence in the form of a green card issued inside the United States, there's another form, but it's bigger than just another form. It's like 500 pages of evidence plus a form. Nightmare. It's like a credit check. It's called the Form I-944. If you're applying for permanent residency by getting a visa, an immigrant visa outside the United States, well, the Department of State that runs the consulate system, they've got their own form, DS 544. Let me, hold on. Hey, look. See this? Look, let me look in here. Let me look in here. You see all this paper? You see all the do you see how Trump, look what he did. He's just making this harder. Why? Because he can. That's why. So the DS 5540 is the form to do the public charge analysis at the consulate. In the olden days, you were just supposed to have some American or green card holder vouch for you, and they would promise, if this intending immigrant gets here with permanent residence and they turn out to be deadbeats, we promise we will bail them out. Well, there is some truth to what Trump is doing. It's not completely unreasonable. Is it overkill? Yeah. Is it designed to make your life miserable, unnecessarily miserable? Yeah. Can they have gotten this information some other way? Maybe in a less burdensome way. But the point is, in the past, they really have not been checking anything regarding who's a deadbeat, who's on welfare, nothing. And if you're going to go through an exercise of getting people to vouch for you, and then no one even double checks or looks any further than the paper, then that promise is worth nothing. There's 7 factors in this analysis. We'll go through them. They look at certain things in the makeup of the factor, and then they'll weight it. If you come out of this analysis and when I say you, this analysis is about the intending immigrant. These factors apply to the person coming here seeking permanent residency. The olden days where the American or the green card holder that used to vouch financially for the person coming here, that's factor number 7. They put the American promise dead last. It's you. You want to come here with permanent residence? You got money? You got savings? You got insurance? You got low debt? You got a good credit history? This is turning immigration on its head. Factor number 1 in the public charge analysis. It has to do with your age. If you are below 18 or over 65, you need to be supported. So they assume here. That's a negative. Positive factor. Not heavily positive, just positive. If you're in that demographic, them working years, when you're in them working years, they want you here. The old are out, the young are in. Too young, you're a burden. Your mom and dad have to take care of you. Factor number 2, health. Health. How's your health? If you've got long-term chronic illnesses, get lost. Or if you have long-term chronic illnesses, you better have health insurance. So, if you don't have any chronic medical conditions, that's a positive. If you have something called a Class B medical condition, that's a negative. And if you have a Class A medical condition, you're inadmissible. These categories of medical condition are all in the regulations. I could show you where they are. But the point is, if you're sick and always gonna be chronically sick, get out. Or you better have health insurance to pay the bills. Factor 3 is something called household size. If you have a big family, the bigger, the worse off, because the bigger the family, the more financial resources you need. And who's you? The intending immigrant. What is a guideline here? There's something called a poverty guideline. And if your income and your assets as a family are greater than 2.5 times the poverty line for your family size, that is a heavily weighted positive factor. Real good. If your income and assets are greater than 125% of this poverty guideline, that's a positive. It's not wildly heavily weighted as positive, but it's positive. Positive is all right. And if your income is less than 125% of the poverty guideline, that is a negative. No good. All right, factor number 4. This is the one that's going to give you a headache. 4. What is the financial status of the intending immigrant and all the people in the family that comes along with the intending immigrant? And let's break it down into several areas. 3 areas. Subfactor number 1. Health insurance. Health insurance. If you've got private, non-Obamacare subsidized health insurance that you pay for, or somehow through work you're offered and you have, that is a heavily weighted positive. It ain't just positive, it's heavily weighted positive. Come on in. If you have state-only subsidized or foreign subsidized health insurance, that's a heavily weighted positive also. If you have private insurance, but it is subsidized through Obamacare, it's a positive or a neutral. It's going to depend on the interviewer. At least you're responsible. You have insurance. All right. And if you have Medicaid, now Medicaid is welfare, but if it's within the Medicaid exceptions, there are Medicaid exceptions for mommies who just had babies. There are Medicaid exceptions for the babies and the children. So it's a neutral, or it could even be positive. You took financial responsibility and paid your bills. If you have no health insurance, negative. Another heavily weighted negative. It ain't just bad. It's really bad. If you have an ongoing chronic medical condition and you've got no health insurance, get lost. All right. Subfactor dealing with your liabilities, your credit score. So let's talk some specifics. If your credit score is bigger than 670 credit score or higher, positive, boom. If your credit score is between 580 and 669, 580 to 669, that's a neutral. That's all right. If your credit score is less than 580, that's a negative. What other kind of debts and liabilities do we look at? Consumer loans for appliances, kitchen cabinets, a car, other debt like mortgage or child support payments that you don't pay because you can't afford it. Also, we look at past applications for fee waivers. You asked in the past, for example, when you filed an immigration form to have the fee waived because you're too poor to pay for the application. We don't want you. If you can't even pay us to apply to us, then get out. A bankruptcy within 2 years of applying for permanent residence, you're bankrupt, scram. Subfactor number 3, receipt of public benefits in the past. All right, so there are several categories of public benefits. So let's take a look. The first 3, SSI, that means supplemental security. Here, I'm not going to... You want a green card? If you've had SSI, TANF, that means temporary assistance for needy families, or general assistance from the federal, state, or local government, and you've had it for more than 12 months in the past 3 years, more than 12 months in the past 3 years, you are going to get a negative, heavily negative weighted factor, the worst. Now, if you've received them for less than 12 months, that's a negative. You should check in the future. Please check whatever benefits you're seeking. Make sure they're on the immigration good list first. Don't just be signing up for stuff. The next group, Medicaid, supplemental nutrition assistance programs, SNAP. They used to be called food stamps in the olden days. Food stamps, SNAP, no good. And federal assistance with housing, don't do it. Why? If you've received any of these three for more than 12 months in the past 3 years, that's a heavily weighted negative factor. Heavily weighted negative factor is code for you're going to have a real hard time climbing the hill to get your green card. Green cards based on marriage ain't about being married anymore. It's about money, 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 money. And if you're getting a green card based on a job, well then, normally you wouldn't take a job unless it helped you pay your bills. And unless you're really financially reckless, a job-based immigration case shouldn't have too much trouble with this because it's based on a government-approved salary. The government had to approve your salary to get you this far, and now they're going to have enough nerve to tell you, oh, the salary we approved that you get paid, it's not enough to support you. If they do that, shame on them, okay? Shame on them. Where was I? This is making me so mad, I don't even know what the hell I'm saying half the time. I'm so pissed. Are there any positive factors under this welfare thing? There's 3. 1, if you have proof that you were on a benefit and got off the benefit and got on your own 2 feet, that's a plus. It was a temporary fix you needed. It's like I'm talking about a drug addiction. Getting off the benefit, that's 1. 2, if you have paperwork that says you did such a good job of getting back on your feet that when they reassessed your ability to keep receiving benefits, you were judged to be too self-sufficient financially. Good for you. And I don't want to leave you with an impression that all benefits are bad, especially when it comes to health care. So let's look at another. It's not really a positive factor. It's not a negative either. It's just neutral. It's irrelevant. There are some exceptions to the Medicaid rule, okay? These are important. Exceptions to the Medicaid rule. Is Medicaid bad? Yeah. It means you're so poor you can't afford insurance. But are we going to let women and children die in the streets? Not yet, okay? So what am I talking about? Here are exemptions. These are not lumped in as public benefits. You're not going to be heavily weighted in a negative way when it comes to Medicaid if it was emergency Medicaid. 2, services provided under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. That's okay. Any other school-based services, that's okay. And what other Medicaid programs are exempt? 2 more. Benefits received by young people under the age of 21, meaning you got to rely on Medicaid to take care of a child. That's permitted. It's permitted. And then the last one is all the benefits related to pregnancy. If you're pregnant, you get Medicaid. We're not going to let pregnant women just drop dead. Postnatal, if there's some postnatal care you need within limits, postnatal care, that's fine. So again, check before you sign up. And another one, in addition to health, what else do you need? You need to eat. You need to eat. But Food stamps ain't good enough because big strapping guys who could be lumberjacks can get food stamps. No good if you're a lumberjack. But if you are enrolled in the program for women, infants, and children for supplemental nutrition, WIC is okay. Okay? Factor number 5, employment, education, and skills. Education and skills drive your ability to be employed. So let's take a look at employment. That's the most important one. Here we go. There are two things. One's really, really, really good, and one is really, really, really bad. What's the really, really, really good one? The heavily weighted positive factor is if you are working, you're working legally, and you're making 2.5 times the poverty line for your family size. Bam! You're doing really well. Come on in. What's negative? I'll tell you what's negative. The exact reverse. You could work, you legally are eligible to work, and you are not working. You're unemployable for some reason. Maybe because you're a loser. In Trump world, you're either a winner or a loser. And this is how he's keeping score. Real quick, if you have a valid job offer, that's a positive. It's better than no job offer. If you're a primary care provider but you're not paid, that's okay too. You're taking social responsibility for another human being. Stay home as a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home mom and take care of your children. Good for you. Positive. You have an old elderly parent. You stay home and take care of them. Positive. And if you're currently working, but it's just not at 2.5 times the poverty line, but you're working, that's good. You're out of the house. Go work. Go. And then all education is positive, and there's only one thing under education that's negative, and it's not heavily weighted. It's just positive or negative. The one thing under education and skills that is negative is, are you ready? If you have no job skills. Factor number 6. It's called the prospective status you seek. Is it immigrant, green card, permanent residency? They all mean the same thing. Or are you going to be here temporarily? Are you here on a temporary work visa? Why do they care? Because if you're only going to be here temporarily, we will lighten up on this analysis because you are only going to be here temporarily. Then we can throw you out when your visa expires or you lose your job. If you're going to be here forever, a permanent resident, it's pretty hard to throw you out. Trump is inventing ways to do it every day. Don't let him. So they're going to really crack down on this stuff if you're seeking a green card. And the last factor, factor number 7, the likelihood of your sponsor. The focus really here is on a joint sponsor. Whoever signs an affidavit of support for you, the I-864, what's the likelihood that they will really keep their promise and support you if times get tough? Looking to the American or the green card holder who signs the I-864, the affidavit of support, that used to be the first thing and the only thing. Now it's the very dead last thing. What is the likelihood that the person promising to keep you afloat financially will do it? Is it the next door neighbor? Good luck. But now if it's someone like your mother, your father, your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, They're a pretty good bet. The only thing lower than this criteria is a gratuitous one thrown in for good measure. Are you ready? If you've been previously found to be inadmissible or deportable on public charge grounds, let me repeat that because it's so stupid. If you have previously been found to be inadmissible or deportable on public charge grounds, oh, that's a heavily weighted negative factor. Oh my God, I can't even believe I'm saying this stuff.